The first rays of the morning sun stretched across the peaceful town of Umudike. Roosters crowed from every direction as traders prepared their stalls for another busy market day. Farmers carried baskets of fresh vegetables, cassava, yams, and maize toward the town square, while children laughed as they chased one another along the dusty roads. Among the many people in town, one woman always attracted attention wherever she went. Her name was Amara Okafor. Amara was known not only for her breathtaking beauty, but also for her incredible strength. Her powerful athletic body, broad shoulders, and confident posture often surprised people who met her for the first time. She worked out every morning before sunrise, helped elderly neighbors carry heavy loads, and never hesitated to do difficult work that many considered men's jobs. Yet despite her strength, Amara had one of the kindest hearts in town. She never ignored a hungry child. She never walked past an elderly person without offering help. And she never judged anyone because of their appearance. Her kindness made many people admire her even more than her beauty. But inside her father's luxurious mansion, happiness was becoming harder to find. Chief Benson Okafor, one of the wealthiest businessmen in Umudike, had only one dream. He wanted his daughter to marry a rich man. Every week, expensive cars stopped outside their mansion. Wealthy businessmen, politicians, and successful entrepreneurs came carrying flowers, jewelry, and expensive gifts. Some even arrived with musicians to impress her. One Saturday afternoon, another visitor arrived. A sleek black luxury SUV rolled through the massive gate. Out stepped Victor Cole. Victor was one of the richest young businessmen in the state. His designer suit, polished shoes, and gold wristwatch announced his wealth long before he spoke. Chief Benson greeted him with a wide smile. "My future son-in-law," he laughed. Victor smiled confidently. "I came to see Amara." Inside the sitting room, servants placed expensive drinks and snacks before the guest. When Amara entered, Victor stood up immediately. "You look even more beautiful than the last time I saw you," he said smoothly. "Thank you," Amara replied politely. Victor opened a small velvet box. Inside lay a sparkling diamond necklace. "I bought this for you." Everyone in the room gasped. Chief Benson beamed with pride. "This necklace costs more than some people's houses," he said. Victor carefully pushed the box toward Amara. "I hope you'll accept it." Amara looked at the necklace for a few quiet seconds before gently closing the box. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I can't accept such an expensive gift." Victor blinked in surprise. Chief Benson's smile disappeared. "What do you mean?" he asked. Amara looked at both men calmly. "I don't want anyone to think expensive gifts can buy my heart." The room became silent. Victor forced a smile. "Perhaps next time." After he left, Chief Benson exploded with anger. "What is wrong with you?" he shouted. "Do you know how many women dream of marrying a man like Victor?" Amara remained calm. "I don't want to marry someone because of his money." Chief Benson shook his head. "You are thinking like a child." "I want a man with a good heart," she answered. "A good heart doesn't pay bills," her father snapped. Her mother, Rose, quietly watched from the corner. She understood both sides. She wanted her daughter to be happy, but she also feared the opinions of society. That evening, Amara sat alone in the garden. The cool breeze gently moved the flowers around her. She whispered to herself, "There has to be more to life than money." The following morning was market day. Amara decided to buy fresh vegetables herself instead of sending servants. Many traders greeted her warmly. "My daughter." "Good morning, Amara. God bless you." She smiled at everyone as she walked through the crowded market. Suddenly, she noticed an elderly woman struggling to lift a heavy basket of yams. Without hesitation, Amara walked over. "Let me help you." The old woman smiled gratefully. "Thank you, my child." As Amara carried the basket toward the woman's stall, someone nearby spoke. "Careful." She turned. Standing beside another stall was a tall, handsome young farmer. His cream-colored long-sleeved shirt was stained with mud. His dark trousers were old but clean. Worn rubber boots covered his feet. A farming hoe rested across his shoulder. Despite his simple appearance, there was something calm and confident about him. His eyes were gentle. His smile was warm. He quickly picked up another basket before the elderly woman could ask. "I'll carry this one too," he said. Together, they placed the baskets safely inside the stall. The elderly woman wiped tears from her eyes. "May God bless both of you." Amara smiled. No one should struggle alone. The young farmer nodded in agreement. "I couldn't have said it better." For the first time, their eyes truly met. "I'm Noah," he said. "Amara." He smiled. "It's nice to meet you." She smiled back. "You too." Just then, several young men nearby began whispering. "Look, that's Chief Benson's daughter. What is she doing talking to that poor farmer?" Another laughed. "Maybe she's buying vegetables on credit." More laughter followed. Amara heard every word but ignored them. Instead, she looked at Noah. "Do you always help people like this?" He shrugged. "If God gives me strength, why shouldn't I use it to help someone else?" His answer surprised her. Most people she knew loved talking about money. This man talked about kindness. They continued walking through the market together. Noah stopped at different stalls, greeting traders by name. He asked about a sick child. He checked on an elderly man's health. He quietly paid for food that a struggling widow could not afford without telling her who had settled the bill. Amara noticed everything. "You know almost everyone here." Noah smiled. "Farming teaches you that every seed matters." She looked confused. "What do you mean?" "If you care for people today," he replied, "you'll harvest kindness tomorrow." His words stayed with her. They reached his vegetable stand. Fresh tomatoes, peppers, spinach, okra, carrots, and maize were neatly arranged. Everything looked fresh. "You grew all these yourself?" Amara asked. "Yes. They're beautiful." He laughed softly. "I'll tell the vegetables you said that." She laughed too. Felt natural, easy, peaceful. For the first time in a long while, she wasn't speaking to someone who wanted to impress her with wealth. She was talking to someone who simply enjoyed making other people smile. As she prepared to leave, Noah handed her a small basket of fresh vegetables. She reached for her purse. "How much?" He shook his head. "It's a gift. I can't take it for free. You already helped someone today." "So did you." He smiled. "Then let's call it even." Amara accepted the basket with a grateful smile. "Thank you. I hope to see you again," Noah said. She nodded. "I think you will." As she walked away, she glanced back one last time. Noah had already returned to helping another customer with the same quiet smile. Across the market, several people watched them. Some laughed. Some whispered. Some shook their heads. One woman said loudly, "Imagine Chief Benson's daughter smiling at a poor farmer." Another replied with a laugh, "That story will never end well." Amara heard them, but instead of feeling embarrassed, she smiled. For reasons she could not explain, meeting the humble farmer had brought her more peace than all the wealthy men who had ever tried to win her heart. She had no idea that the simple man everyone mocked was hiding a secret so extraordinary that it would one day leave the entire town speechless. The morning after their first meeting at the market, Amara could not stop thinking about Noah. She had met many successful men over the years. Some owned large companies. Others drove expensive cars and wore designer clothes. They always spoke about their achievements, their wealth, and the luxurious lives they could offer her. But Noah was different. He never tried to impress her. He never boasted. Instead, he spent his time helping an elderly woman carry heavy baskets and quietly paying for a widow's food without expecting praise. His kindness stayed in her heart. Later that week, Amara returned to the market. She told herself she only needed fresh vegetables. Deep inside, she knew she hoped to see Noah again. As she walked through the busy marketplace, familiar voices greeted her. "Good morning, Amara. You look beautiful today." She smiled politely, but her eyes searched among the stalls. Then she saw him. Noah was arranging baskets of tomatoes and peppers. His cream-colored shirt was once again stained with soil, and his worn rubber boots were covered in dust from the farm. A farming hoe rested against his wooden table. When he looked up and saw her, a warm smile spread across his face. "I was wondering if you'd come back," he said. Amara laughed softly. "So you expected me?" "I hoped." His honest answer made her smile even more. They talked while customers came and went. Noah treated everyone with the same respect, whether they bought one tomato or an entire basket of vegetables. When business became quiet, he asked, "Would you like to see where all this food comes from?" "You mean your farm?" He nodded. "If you don't mind a little walking." "I don't mind at all." The farm was about 30 minutes outside the town. The narrow road was surrounded by green fields stretching toward the hills. Birds sang from tall trees, and a gentle breeze carried the fresh smell of soil after the previous night's rain. When they arrived, Amara stopped walking. The farm was beautiful. Rows of maize stood tall beside fields of cassava, peppers, tomatoes, and vegetables. Fruit trees lined the edges of the land, while chickens scratched happily around a simple wooden barn. "You take good care of this place," she said. Noah smiled. "The land takes care of those who respect it." He handed her a small basket. "Would you help me harvest some tomatoes?" She laughed. "I've never done this before." "I'll teach you." The work was harder than she expected, but she enjoyed every minute. Noah patiently showed her which tomatoes were ripe and how to pick them without damaging the plants. Soon they were laughing together like old friends. As the afternoon sun grew warmer, they rested beneath a large mango tree. Noah poured water into 2 metal cups. "Here." "Thank you." They sat quietly for a few moments, enjoying the peaceful sounds of nature. Then Amara asked the question that had been on her mind. "Why did you become a farmer?" Noah looked across his fields. "My father taught me that feeding people is one of the greatest gifts anyone can give." "Do you ever wish you had a different life?" He smiled. "I already have a good life." She looked around at the modest farm. "You really believe that?" "I wake up healthy. I work with my hands. I sleep peacefully. And I never have to pretend to be someone I'm not." His words touched her deeply. For the first time, she realized that true happiness might not have anything to do with wealth. As they prepared to leave, an old man slowly approached the farm using a walking stick. His clothes were worn, and his face showed years of hardship. "Noah," he called. Noah immediately hurried over. "Grandpa Musa, are you all right? My medicine finished yesterday." Without hesitation, Noah reached into his pocket and quietly handed the old man some money. "Please buy everything you need." Grandpa Musa looked embarrassed. "I'll pay you back after harvest." Noah gently shook his head. "Your health comes first." The old man's eyes filled with tears. "God bless you, my son." After Grandpa Musa left, Amara turned to Noah. "You help a lot of people, don't you?" He shrugged. "When God blesses us, we're supposed to bless others." "But you're not rich." He smiled. "You don't have to be rich to be generous." His answer stayed with her long after they left the farm. Over the next several weeks, visiting Noah became part of Amara's routine. Sometimes she helped him plant seeds. Sometimes they harvested vegetables together. Sometimes they simply sat beneath the mango tree talking about life. She learned that Noah loved reading books during quiet evenings. She discovered he could repair broken farming tools and even fix old bicycles for children without charging them. Everywhere they went, people greeted him warmly. Yet Noah never seemed interested in praise. One afternoon, while they were delivering vegetables to the market, they passed a small school. Several children ran toward Noah. "Teacher Noah," he laughed. "I'm not your teacher, but you bought our books. And our uniforms," another child added happily. Noah smiled awkwardly. "Study hard." "We will." The children ran back inside. Amara looked at him with surprise. "You paid their school fees?" "It wasn't much. It was enough to change their lives." He simply smiled and continued walking. The more time she spent with Noah, the more she admired him. He lived simply. He spoke gently. He worked honestly. And somehow, despite having very little, he always found ways to help others. But not everyone was happy about their growing friendship. Rumors spread quickly throughout Umudike. People whispered in shops. They whispered in churches. They whispered in restaurants. Chief Benson's daughter is always with that poor farmer. Has she lost her mind? What future can a farmer give her? Even inside the Okafor mansion, the gossip finally reached Chief Benson. One evening, as Amara entered the dining room, her father was waiting. His expression was cold. "Sit down." She quietly obeyed. "I've been hearing disturbing stories." She remained silent. "Tell me they are false." "What stories?" "That you've been spending your days with a poor farmer." Amara looked directly into his eyes. "They're true." Chief Benson slammed his hand against the table. "Why?" "Because he's a good man." "A good man?" he shouted. "Good men don't build mansions. Good men don't provide luxury. Good men don't protect their families from poverty." Amara remained calm. "Noah provides food for hundreds of families. He helps widows. He pays children's school fees. He respects everyone." Her father laughed bitterly. "Respect won't buy you a comfortable life." "It already has," she replied softly. Chief Benson stared at her in disbelief. For the first time, he realized his daughter was no longer impressed by wealth. She had found something much more valuable. Love was quietly growing inside her heart. That same evening, Noah stood alone outside his farmhouse watching the stars. Grandpa Musa slowly walked beside him. "You've fallen in love with her," the old man said. Noah smiled quietly. "I have. And she loves you too." Noah looked toward the distant lights of the town. "I only pray she never regrets choosing a simple farmer." Grandpa Musa smiled knowingly. "If she truly loves you, she'll never regret choosing the man behind the farm." Neither of them noticed the black luxury SUV parked far away on the hill. Inside sat Victor Cole. His face burned with jealousy as he watched Noah's farmhouse through the darkness. "If I can't have Amara," he muttered coldly, "then that farmer will regret the day he ever met her." The peaceful days were about to come to an end. The sun had barely risen over Umudike when Amara stepped into the courtyard of her family's mansion. Normally, the peaceful morning air helped clear her mind, but today her heart felt heavy. The argument with her father the previous evening kept replaying in her thoughts. She knew Chief Benson would not give up easily. For him, wealth was everything. For her, character mattered more. As she watered the flowers in the garden, a luxury SUV rolled through the gates. She sighed. She already knew who it was. Victor Cole stepped out wearing another expensive designer suit. His polished shoes shined in the morning light, and a gold watch sparkled on his wrist. He carried a large bouquet of red roses. Chief Benson hurried outside with a broad smile. "Victor, welcome." Victor smiled politely. "Good morning, Chief." Then his eyes found Amara. "These are for you." He held out the flowers. Amara smiled politely but did not take them. "I'm sorry, Victor. I can't accept them." Victor's smile faded. Chief Benson's face tightened with embarrassment. "Amara," he whispered sharply. But she remained calm. "I've told you before. I don't want expensive gifts." Victor slowly lowered the bouquet. "What exactly do I have to do to make you happy?" he asked. Amara looked at him honestly. "You don't have to buy my heart. I've never asked you to." "No," she replied gently. "But you've always tried." Victor stared at her for a long moment before forcing another smile. "I'll leave you to think about it." Without another word, he turned and walked back to his vehicle. As soon as the gate closed behind him, Chief Benson exploded. "What is wrong with you?" His voice echoed across the compound. "Do you know how many women would do anything to marry Victor?" Amara met her father's angry eyes. "I don't want to marry someone I don't love." "You'll learn to love him." "No. You don't even know what love is." Amara took a deep breath. "I know that love cannot be bought." Chief Benson pointed toward the gate. "Everything you enjoy today came because I worked hard for money." "I know, father. And now you're throwing away your future for a farmer who owns nothing." "He owns something." "What?" "A good heart." Chief Benson laughed bitterly. "A good heart doesn't build a family." It does, Amara answered quietly. Money only builds houses. The words struck him like a slap. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Finally, Chief Benson made his decision. If you continue seeing Noah, you are no longer my daughter. Rose, who had been listening from the doorway, gasped. Benson! But he raised his hand. I've made my decision. Amara felt tears gathering in her eyes. You would disown me? I will not allow this family to become the laughingstock of the town. Her voice trembled. So your reputation is more important than my happiness? Chief Benson looked away. My answer is final. Without another word, Amara slowly walked toward her room. She closed the door behind her and sat quietly on the edge of her bed. For the first time in years, she cried. Not because she feared poverty, but because she realized her own father could not see the goodness in the man she loved. Later that afternoon, she made up her mind. She needed to see Noah. The familiar farm road felt longer than usual. When she arrived, Noah was repairing a broken wooden fence beside his vegetable field. He looked up and smiled. You came. She tried to smile back. I needed to see you. One look at her face told Noah something was wrong. He gently placed his tools on the ground. What happened? My father. Noah nodded quietly. He knows. Yes. She told him everything. The argument, the threats, the ultimatum. Noah listened without interrupting. When she finished speaking, he remained silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. Amara, if staying with me means losing your family, then you should go back. She looked at him in disbelief. What? You deserve an easy life. I already chose my life. No. He shook his head gently. I don't want you to suffer because of me. She stepped closer. Do you love me? His answer came immediately. More than anything. Then why are you pushing me away? Because love isn't selfish. His eyes filled with sadness. If one day you wake up and regret choosing me, I could never forgive myself. Amara reached for his hands. They're rough. He smiled softly. They're farmers' hands. They're honest hands. She looked directly into his eyes. Listen to me carefully. I don't care about your house. I don't care about your clothes. I don't care how much money you have. I love the man standing in front of me. Noah felt his heart pound. No one had ever spoken to him like that before. He lowered his eyes, hiding the emotion building inside him. You don't know what those words mean to me. She smiled through her tears. Then let me say something even more important. She took another step closer. I'm not leaving you. The gentle breeze carried the scent of fresh soil across the farm. For a few quiet moments, neither of them spoke. They simply stood together beneath the wide blue sky. Then Noah softly asked, Are you sure? She nodded without hesitation. I've never been more certain of anything. At that moment, Grandpa Musa slowly approached from the far side of the field. He smiled when he saw them together. I've been looking for you, Noah. Noah greeted the old man warmly. Is everything all right? Grandpa Musa glanced at Amara before speaking. The harvest buyers came this morning. I'll meet them later. The old man nodded but quietly pulled Noah aside. His cheerful expression disappeared. They're asking questions. Who? Some powerful people from the city. They're searching for you. Noah's face became serious. I expected this. They won't stop. I know. Grandpa Musa lowered his voice even further. How much longer will you keep pretending? Noah looked toward Amara, who was admiring the vegetables nearby. A little longer. You've already found the woman. I know. So what are you waiting for? Noah smiled gently. I need to be completely sure. Grandpa Musa chuckled. My son, that young woman would choose your mud house over a palace. Noah looked at Amara with quiet admiration. I believe you're right. As evening approached, Amara prepared to leave. Noah walked her to the entrance of the farm. I'll speak to my father again, she said. I hope he changes his mind. And if he doesn't? She smiled. Then we'll face tomorrow together. He watched her walk away until she disappeared beyond the trees. Far across the road, hidden behind parked vehicles, another pair of eyes had been watching everything. Victor Cole. His fists tightened around the steering wheel. So, they really are in love. His jaw clenched with anger. If kindness won't separate them, then I'll use something else. A slow, dangerous smile spread across his face. He reached for his phone. I need you to find out everything about a farmer named Noah. There was a pause. No, I don't care how much it costs. I want every detail. Victor ended the call and looked toward Noah's farm one last time. You may have won her heart, he whispered, but this battle is far from over. As darkness settled over Umudike, the stars quietly filled the night sky. Amara slept peacefully, believing love would conquer every obstacle. Noah stood outside his modest farmhouse, carrying a secret that could change all their lives. And somewhere in the shadows, Victor's plan had already begun. None of them knew that the days ahead would test their love more than they could ever imagine. The news spread through Umudike faster than a wildfire. Amara Okafor, the beautiful daughter of Chief Benson Okafor, had chosen to marry Noah, the poor farmer who lived in a small farmhouse on the outskirts of town. Everywhere people gathered, they talked about nothing else. At the village market, traders abandoned conversations about prices to discuss the wedding. I still can't believe it, one woman said as she arranged tomatoes on her table. Chief Benson's daughter marrying a farmer? Another trader laughed loudly. Not just a farmer, a poor one. A group of young men standing nearby shook their heads. She must be under a spell. No beautiful woman would choose poverty willingly. Their laughter echoed through the market. None of them knew how wrong they were. Inside the Okafor mansion, the atmosphere was painfully quiet. Chief Benson sat alone in his large sitting room, staring at a wedding invitation lying on the table before him. He had received it 3 days earlier. It was simple. No gold lettering. No expensive design. Just plain white paper with neatly printed words inviting him to witness the marriage of Noah Adeyemi and Amara Okafor. His hands trembled as he looked at it. I warned her, he muttered. I warned her. Rose walked quietly into the room. She is still our daughter. Chief Benson looked away. Not anymore. You don't mean that. I do. Rose sat beside him. She loves him. Love doesn't put food on the table. Rose sighed. No, Benson. But love keeps people together when money disappears. Chief Benson refused to answer. His pride had become stronger than his love. Meanwhile, at Noah's farmhouse, preparations for the wedding were underway. There were no expensive decorators, no luxury tents, no famous musicians. Neighbors came together to help. The women cooked large pots of jollof rice, vegetable soup, pounded yam, and grilled fish over open fires. Young men decorated the small village square with colorful fabric, fresh palm leaves, and simple flowers picked from nearby fields. Children ran around excitedly, laughing as they carried wooden chairs from one house to another. The entire celebration was built with love instead of money. As Noah adjusted a few wooden benches beneath a large mango tree, Grandpa Musa walked over with a warm smile. You seem calm. Noah smiled. I've never been more certain of anything. Grandpa Musa nodded. She chose you when everyone else rejected you. I'll spend the rest of my life making sure she never regrets it. The old man placed a gentle hand on Noah's shoulder. I know you will. The morning of the wedding arrived beneath a bright blue sky. Birds sang from the trees as the village slowly came alive. Amara stood inside a small room beside the village church. She wore a simple white wedding gown. It wasn't covered in diamonds or expensive decorations. Yet she looked breathtaking. Her naturally beautiful face glowed with happiness, and her powerful athletic physique made her stand with graceful confidence. One of the older village women adjusted her veil. You are the most beautiful bride I've ever seen. Amara smiled. Thank you. Are you nervous? She laughed softly. A little. The woman squeezed her hand. You are marrying a good man. I know. Outside, Noah waited near the church entrance. He wore a clean cream-colored traditional outfit with simple brown sandals. He looked handsome despite the simplicity of his clothing. His heart raced as he waited. Then he saw her. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. Amara walked toward him with a gentle smile. Their eyes met. Neither of them noticed the whispers around them. She could have married a millionaire. What a waste. Look at his clothes. He looks like he's going to the farm. The cruel comments continued as more guests arrived. Several people had come, not to celebrate the wedding, but to witness what they believed would become the greatest mistake of Amara's life. A loud engine suddenly interrupted the ceremony. Heads turned toward the road. A convoy of luxury vehicles rolled to a stop outside the church. Victor Cole stepped out wearing an expensive black designer suit. Behind him were several wealthy friends dressed in elegant clothing. The villagers murmured among themselves. He came. I knew he wouldn't miss this. Victor walked confidently toward Noah. He smiled, but there was no kindness in his eyes. So, you actually convinced her to marry you. Noah remained calm. Good morning, Victor. Victor looked around at the simple decorations. Wooden benches, palm leaves, a modest church. He laughed loudly. This is the wedding you could afford? Several of his friends burst into laughter. Victor continued. I've attended birthday parties that cost more than this entire ceremony. More laughter followed. One of his friends looked at Noah's sandals. Maybe we should start a donation for new shoes. The wealthy guests laughed even harder. Many villagers joined them. Amara heard every word. She slowly stepped forward until she stood beside Noah. Without saying a word, she reached for his hand. Then she turned to face everyone. Her voice was calm but strong. You are laughing because you think this man is poor. The crowd became quiet. She looked at Noah before continuing. I have met wealthy men who speak with pride and treat people like servants. Then she gently squeezed Noah's hand. But this man feeds hungry families. He helps widows. He pays children's school fees without asking for praise. He respects people whether they are rich or poor. She turned back to the crowd. So tell me, who is truly rich? No one answered. Even Victor remained silent. Amara smiled. I would rather spend my life with a man who has a kind heart than with someone whose wallet is full but whose heart is empty. The silence became almost painful. Several villagers lowered their heads. Others looked away in embarrassment. Victor forced a cold smile. Very touching. He stepped closer to Noah. But love doesn't change reality. He pointed toward Noah's small farmhouse in the distance. Tomorrow morning she'll wake up in that tiny house. He glanced at Amara. No servants. No luxury. No expensive vacations. No designer clothes. He looked at Noah again. And one day, you'll realize love doesn't pay bills. Noah smiled peacefully. It has already given me something money never could. Victor frowned. And what's that? Noah looked at Amara with deep affection. A woman who loves me for who I am. Amara's eyes filled with tears. For the first time, she realized how deeply Noah cherished her. The pastor stepped forward with a smile. I believe it's time. The guests slowly took their seats. The ceremony began. As Noah and Amara stood before the altar, sunlight streamed through the church windows, filling the room with a warm golden glow. The pastor spoke about love, sacrifice, patience, and faithfulness. Then came the vows. Noah looked into Amara's eyes. I may never promise you a life without storms, but I promise you'll never face them alone. Tears rolled down Amara's cheeks. When it was her turn, she held both of Noah's hands. I didn't choose you because of what you own. I chose you because every day you remind me what goodness looks like. I promise to stand beside you through every season of life. The pastor smiled warmly. By the authority given to me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. The small church erupted in applause. The villagers who truly knew Noah celebrated with joyful cheers. Outside, children danced as drums filled the air. Simple food was served. Laughter echoed across the village. For Noah and Amara, It was the happiest day of their lives. But standing at the edge of the celebration, Victor watched them with burning hatred. He quietly pulled out his phone and made a call. "They're married." There was a brief pause. "Start the plan." He slipped the phone back into his pocket and looked at Noah one last time. "Enjoy your happiness while it lasts. You have no idea what's coming." As the sun slowly disappeared beyond the hills, Noah and Amara walked hand in hand toward the small farmhouse that everyone had mocked. The villagers laughed as they watched the newlyweds disappear down the dusty farm road. Not one of those laughing faces realized they had just mocked the richest man in town. And very soon, the truth would begin to reveal itself. The morning after their wedding, Noah and Amara woke to the sweet songs of birds outside their little farmhouse. Soft golden sunlight streamed through the wooden window, warming the small bedroom. The room was simple. A neatly made wooden bed stood against one wall, with a small wardrobe beside it. There were no expensive paintings, no sparkling chandeliers, and no luxurious furniture. Yet Amara smiled as she looked around. For the first time in years, she felt completely at peace. She turned toward Noah, who was still sleeping peacefully. His face carried the calm expression of a man whose heart had finally found its home. She gently brushed a strand of hair away from his forehead. "You work so hard," she whispered. Without wanting to wake him, she quietly climbed out of bed and walked into the kitchen. The little kitchen smelled of fresh herbs hanging from the ceiling. Clay pots were neatly arranged on wooden shelves, and baskets filled with tomatoes, peppers, onions, and vegetables from Noah's farm sat in one corner. Amara smiled as she prepared breakfast. Soon, the delicious smell of fried eggs, roasted plantains, fresh bread, and hot tea filled the farmhouse. The aroma finally woke Noah. He walked into the kitchen, rubbing his sleepy eyes. "Good morning, my wife." Amara laughed. "Good morning, my husband." Hearing those words made them both smile. Noah looked at the table. "You cooked all this already? I wanted your first breakfast as my husband to be special." He looked at her with admiration. "You've already made it special just by being here." After thanking God for the food, they enjoyed breakfast together. They laughed over small jokes and shared stories from their childhoods. There were no servants serving them, no expensive dining room, no golden cutlery, just two people deeply in love. After breakfast, Noah stood and picked up his farming hoe. "The crops won't wait for us." Amara stood immediately. "Then let's not keep them waiting." They walked hand in hand along the dusty road leading to the farm. Some villagers greeted them warmly. Others simply stared. A few whispered loudly enough for them to hear. "There goes Chief Benson's daughter. I still can't believe she gave up a mansion for this. Just wait until the hard life begins." Amara heard every word. She squeezed Noah's hand and smiled. "I've never been happier." Noah smiled back. "I'm glad." When they reached the farm, the morning air felt cool and refreshing. Rows of tomatoes, peppers, maize, cassava, and vegetables stretched across the land. The crops looked healthy after the previous night's rain. Noah handed Amara a woven basket. "We'll start with the tomatoes." She nodded enthusiastically. "I've become your farming assistant." "My favorite assistant." They laughed together as they worked. At one point, Noah reached for the same tomato as Amara. Their hands touched. They both laughed. "You first," Noah said. "No, you." He shook his head. "My wife wins." She smiled proudly. "I like the sound of that." Hours passed quickly because they enjoyed each other's company. When the sun climbed higher, Noah noticed sweat forming on Amara's forehead. "Let's take a break." They sat beneath the large mango tree that had become their favorite resting place. Noah handed her a bottle of cool water. She drank gratefully. "This place is beautiful." "It is. I never knew peace could feel like this." Noah looked at her. "Do you miss your father's mansion?" She was quiet for a moment. "I miss my mother." He nodded. "But I don't miss the mansion." "No?" She shook her head. "In that house, everyone talked about money." She looked across the green fields. "Here, people talk about kindness." Her words filled Noah's heart with joy. She truly meant them. She had chosen this life willingly. After resting, they loaded baskets of vegetables onto a wooden cart. "The orphanage is expecting us," Noah said. Amara smiled. "Let's go." When they arrived, the children ran toward them with excited laughter. "Farmer Noah, you're here." The little boys and girls hugged Noah tightly. Amara watched with surprise. "They love you," Noah smiled. "I love them too." The orphanage matron came outside. "You've brought food again." "We had a good harvest," Noah replied. "You always say that." She smiled gratefully. "The children pray for you every night." Noah laughed softly. "I hope they also pray for their studies." "They do." The children helped unload baskets of fresh vegetables. One little girl tugged gently on Noah's sleeve. "Thank you for paying my school fees." Noah smiled warmly. "Just promise to study hard." "I promise." Amara looked at Noah with admiration. As they left, she quietly asked, "How many children do you help?" He shrugged. "I've never counted." "You should." "No." "Why?" He smiled gently. "Kindness isn't something I keep score of." His answer touched her deeply. Their next stop was the village clinic. A nurse hurried outside when she saw Noah. "We've been looking for you." "What happened?" "A pregnant woman needs medicine. Her husband lost his job." Without hesitation, Noah reached into his pocket and handed the nurse some money. "Buy everything she needs." The nurse's eyes filled with gratitude. "You always appear when people need help." Noah simply smiled. "God provides. I'm only delivering his blessings." As they walked away, Amara slipped her hand into his. "You've been helping so many people. I only do what I can. You never tell anyone. If people know, they might thank me. And that's bad. I'd rather they thank God." Amara stopped walking. She looked into his eyes. "You have one of the most beautiful hearts I've ever known." Noah felt emotion rising inside him. He quickly looked away before she noticed the tears forming in his eyes. That evening, they returned home tired but happy. They prepared dinner together. Amara chopped vegetables while Noah cooked soup over the fire. When she tasted the soup, she laughed. "You added extra pepper. I thought it needed it." "It didn't." "I disagree." She laughed so hard she almost dropped the spoon. "You'll wash every plate tonight." He grinned. "I accept my punishment." After dinner, they sat outside beneath the stars. The sky was clear, and a cool breeze swept gently across the fields. Amara rested her head on Noah's shoulder. "I used to think happiness came from comfort. And now, I know happiness comes from the person sitting beside you." Noah closed his eyes for a moment. Every fear he had carried for years slowly disappeared. She loved him without knowing the truth. She loved the farmer, not the fortune. Just then, footsteps approached the farmhouse. Grandpa Musa appeared carrying his old lantern. His smile was gone. "Noah." Noah immediately stood. "What is it?" The old man lowered his voice. "The men from the city returned." Noah's expression became serious. "They questioned several villagers. They're getting closer." "I expected that." Grandpa Musa sighed. "How much longer will you keep your secret?" Noah looked toward Amara, who was quietly humming as she collected the empty plates. "Not much longer." "You trust her now?" "With my life." Grandpa Musa smiled. "Then perhaps it's almost time." Far away, hidden behind trees overlooking the farmhouse, a black luxury SUV sat silently. Victor Cole lowered a pair of binoculars. His assistant handed him a thin file. "We've investigated Noah." Victor opened it. There was almost nothing inside. No bank records, no business records, no criminal history. It's as if he appeared out of nowhere. Victor frowned. "Nobody is that invisible." He closed the file and stared at the glowing farmhouse. "Keep digging. I don't care what it costs. That farmer is hiding something." Inside the little farmhouse, Noah and Amara ended the day with laughter, prayer, and gratitude. They had very little by the world's standards, but they possessed something many wealthy people never found: a home filled with genuine love. Neither of them realized that the peaceful days they treasured were quickly coming to an end, and that Noah's greatest secret was closer than ever to being revealed. The morning sun rose over Umudike, painting the fields with a warm golden light. Dew glistened on the green leaves as Noah walked slowly between the rows of tomatoes, inspecting the crops before the day's work began. From the porch of the farmhouse, Amara watched him with a smile. Every morning he did the same thing. Before thinking about himself, he checked on the farm. Before eating breakfast, he made sure the crops were healthy. Before resting, he thought about the people who depended on his harvest. She admired him more with each passing day. "You've been staring at me for a while," Noah called with a laugh. Amara laughed and walked toward him. "I was thinking." "About what?" "About how lucky I am." Noah smiled. "I was just thinking the same thing." They walked hand in hand through the fields until they reached the old mango tree where they often rested. As they sat beneath its shade, Amara became thoughtful. "There is something I've always wanted to ask you." Noah looked at her. "What is it?" She hesitated for a moment. "You help people every day. You never complain. You never seem worried about money." She tilted her head. "Who are you really?" The question caught Noah by surprise. For a brief moment he was silent. Then he smiled gently. "I'm just a farmer." Amara looked into his eyes. "I don't think that's the whole story." Before Noah could answer, they heard someone calling from the road. "Noah!" Grandpa Musa hurried toward them, breathing heavily. "There are visitors." Noah stood immediately. "Who?" "They're waiting at your farmhouse." His expression changed. "Thank you." He turned to Amara. "Let's go." When they arrived, a black SUV was parked outside the farmhouse. Standing beside it were two well-dressed men in expensive suits. The moment they saw Noah, both men straightened respectfully. "Good morning, sir." Amara frowned. She looked from the men to Noah. "Sir." Noah calmly greeted them. "What brings you here?" The older man lowered his voice. "We've been searching everywhere. I asked you not to. The board insists. They need your signature." He handed Noah a thick brown envelope. Noah accepted it but did not open it. "I'll take care of it. The shareholders are becoming impatient." "I know. The annual meeting cannot be delayed much longer." "I said I'll handle it." The men nodded respectfully. "As you wish, sir." Before leaving, they bowed their heads slightly. "It was good to see you again." Then they climbed back into the SUV and drove away. Amara stood completely still. She slowly turned toward Noah. "Who were they?" Noah remained quiet. "They called you sir." Still, he said nothing. "They spoke about shareholders." Her heart began beating faster. "Noah, what aren't you telling me?" He looked into her eyes. "I think it's finally time." He led her toward the mango tree. Neither of them spoke until they reached it. The breeze gently moved the leaves above them. Finally, Noah took a deep breath. "I haven't been honest with you." Amara's heart sank. For a moment, fear entered her mind. Was he already married? Did he have children? Was he running from the law? She prepared herself for the worst. Noah gently reached for her hand. "My name is Noah Adeyemi." She smiled softly. "I know. But that's not the whole story." He looked across the fields. "My father built one of the largest agricultural companies in the country." Amara blinked. "When he passed away, he left everything to me." She stared at him. "What?" "I became the owner of thousands of acres of farmland, several food processing factories, large warehouses, export companies, and investments worth more money than I could ever spend." Amara could barely breathe. She searched his face, wondering if he was joking. He wasn't. "I don't understand. If you're so wealthy, why are you living here?" Noah smiled sadly. "Because I became lonely." She frowned. "Losing your parents was painful, but losing trust was even worse." He looked down at the soil beneath his feet. "After inheriting the business, everyone suddenly wanted to be my friend. People praised me. They agreed with everything I said. Women claimed they loved me. But whenever I wondered if they loved me or my money, I never found the answer. He sighed deeply. So I disappeared. Amara listened without speaking. I handed the daily operations of my companies to trusted executives. I kept only a small farmhouse. I dressed like an ordinary farmer. And I lived among people who believed I had nothing. He smiled gently. That's when I discovered who people truly were. He remembered the insults, the mocking laughter, the whispers. People ignored him. Some refused to greet him. Others laughed at his old clothes. None of it hurt as much as discovering how differently people treated the poor. Then he looked at Amara. And then I met you. Tears filled Amara's eyes. You never cared about my clothes. You never asked how much money I had. You loved the man, not the wealth. She was speechless. You paid school fees. You donated food. You helped everyone. And you were doing it with your own fortune. He nodded. I've always believed wealth is a tool, not a trophy. She slowly shook her head. You tested me. His expression became filled with regret. I never meant to hurt you. I only wanted to know if genuine love still existed. He lowered his eyes. If you're angry, I'll understand. For several long moments, Amara said nothing. She simply stared at him. Then she surprised him. She began laughing. Noah looked confused. You're laughing? She wiped tears from her eyes. I've spent weeks falling in love with a farmer. She smiled warmly. And today I discover I accidentally married the richest man in town. Noah laughed too. I'm sorry. She gently placed her hands on his face. Do you know something? What? If you lost every company tomorrow, I would still choose you. His eyes became wet. Really? She nodded. I didn't fall in love with your money. I fell in love with the man who carried an old woman's basket. The man who fed hungry children. The man who quietly paid hospital bills. The man who thanked God for simple meals. She smiled through her tears. That man is still sitting in front of me. Noah could no longer hold back his emotions. Tears rolled down his cheeks. For years he had searched for someone who would love him without knowing his wealth. Now he finally had that certainty. He gently embraced Amara. Thank you. She hugged him tightly. No. Thank you for trusting me. Just then, Grandpa Musa approached from the farmhouse. He smiled when he saw them embracing. So, you finally told her. Noah laughed. I did. The old man looked at Amara. And, she smiled brightly. I married the right man. Grandpa Musa chuckled. I knew you would. But before anyone could say another word, the peaceful moment was interrupted by the sound of another approaching vehicle. This time, it wasn't a simple SUV. It was the first of several luxurious black vehicles driving toward the farmhouse. One after another, they rolled down the dusty road. Amara stared in astonishment. Who are they? Noah looked toward the convoy and quietly exhaled. They've come. For what? He smiled gently. To end my life as the poor farmer. As the convoy stopped outside the farmhouse, dozens of sharply dressed executives, lawyers, security officers, and assistants stepped out. The villagers working nearby froze in disbelief. Within minutes, word spread through Umudike. Luxury vehicles were surrounding the poor farmer's house. No one knew why, but before the day was over, the entire town would learn the truth they had never imagined. The secret Noah had protected for years was finally about to change everything. The quiet farm road had never seen anything like it. One black luxury SUV after another rolled toward Noah's modest farmhouse, raising clouds of dust behind them. The convoy seemed endless. Expensive vehicles stretched as far as the eye could see, each one polished until it reflected the bright afternoon sun. Villagers stopped whatever they were doing. Farmers laid down their hoes. Children abandoned their games. Market women left their stalls. Everyone hurried toward Noah's farmhouse. What is happening? Why are so many rich people here? Did someone important get lost? Within minutes, hundreds of curious villagers surrounded the small farm. Amara stood beside Noah, still trying to understand everything she had just learned. Noah gently squeezed her hand. Stay close to me. She nodded. I'm not going anywhere. The doors of the first SUV opened. Several men and women dressed in elegant business suits stepped out. Behind them came uniformed security officers, followed by lawyers carrying leather briefcases. The crowd gasped. One elderly villager whispered, "I've only seen people like this on television." The group walked directly toward Noah. The man leading them stopped a few steps away before bowing his head respectfully. "Good afternoon, Chairman Adeyemi." Every voice in the crowd fell silent. "Chairman?" People looked at one another in confusion. Had they heard correctly? The man continued, "We sincerely apologize for disturbing your privacy, sir, but the emergency board meeting can no longer be postponed." Another executive stepped forward holding a thick folder. "Our international partners have arrived from 3 countries. They refused to sign the new agricultural expansion agreement without your approval." The villagers stared at Noah with open mouths. Noah remained calm. "I understand." He looked at Amara. "I hope to keep this life a little longer." She smiled gently. "You've already shown everyone who you truly are." He nodded. Then he turned back to the executives. "Let's finish this." One lawyer opened the large folder. "Before the board meeting, there is one important matter that requires your signature." He removed several official documents. "These confirm your ownership of Adeyemi Agricultural Holdings." Another lawyer began reading aloud. "The company owns over 25,000 acres of farmland." The crowd gasped. "4 food processing factories." People exchanged shocked looks. 3 rice mills. 2 export terminals. A chain of agricultural supply stores. Warehouse facilities across the region. And charitable foundations operating in 12 communities. Every sentence left the villagers more stunned than the last. The lawyer continued, "Current independent valuation places your combined business assets at over 52 billion naira." Silence. Complete silence. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Even the birds seemed to stop singing. Then someone whispered, 52 billion? Another villager shook his head. "No. That can't be possible." The lawyer handed Noah a pen. "Your signature, sir." Without saying a word, Noah signed the documents. The lawyers immediately nodded with satisfaction. "Thank you, Chairman." As the documents were packed away, one of the executives smiled warmly. "We're grateful to have you back." Noah smiled politely. "I never really left." At that moment, another vehicle arrived. This one was different. It was a sleek black limousine. The driver quickly opened the rear door. Out stepped a distinguished elderly man wearing an elegant traditional outfit. The moment he saw Noah, he walked forward with emotion shining in his eyes. "My boy!" Noah smiled warmly. "Uncle Samuel." The older man embraced him tightly. "I've missed you." "I've missed you too." The villagers watched in silence. Someone whispered, "Isn't that Samuel Adeyemi, the founder of the National Farmers Association?" Another man nodded nervously. "He's one of the most respected businessmen in the country." Uncle Samuel turned toward the crowd. "I've been searching for this stubborn young man for months." He laughed. "He insisted on living like an ordinary farmer." Several executives laughed softly. Amara looked at Noah. "You never told me about him. I wanted you to know me before you knew my family." She smiled. "I'm glad you did." Just then, another familiar vehicle stopped near the farmhouse. Victor Cole climbed out. He had rushed there after hearing strange rumors spreading through town. His confident smile disappeared the moment he saw the convoy. He looked around in confusion. "What is all this?" One executive glanced at him. "Can we help you?" Victor pointed toward Noah. "I'm looking for that farmer." The executive frowned. "You mean Chairman Noah Adeyemi?" Victor laughed awkwardly. "No, the poor farmer." The executive smiled politely. "They're the same person." Victor's face turned pale. "What?" He looked at Noah, then at the executives, then at the security officers, then back at Noah again. This is some kind of joke." "It isn't," Uncle Samuel replied calmly. "My nephew has been living here by choice." Victor stumbled backward. He remembered every insult, every cruel word, every laugh, every attempt to humiliate Noah. His knees suddenly felt weak. Across the crowd, more vehicles arrived. This time they belonged to journalists. Cameras appeared everywhere. Microphones were raised. One reporter hurried toward Noah. "Chairman Adeyemi, is it true you've spent almost 3 years living as an ordinary farmer?" "Yes." "Why?" Noah looked around at the villagers. Then he answered loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Because I wanted to know who would respect me without my money." The crowd became completely silent again. "I wanted to know who believed a person's value came from their character." His eyes found Amara. "And I found my answer." Every camera turned toward Amara. She lowered her head shyly. Noah continued, "This woman loved me when everyone believed I owned nothing. She stood beside me when people laughed. She defended me when others mocked me. She chose my heart before she knew my name." Tears filled Amara's eyes. The crowd looked at her with new admiration. One elderly woman whispered, "She really loved him." Another nodded. "She passed a test none of us even knew existed." Suddenly, another familiar figure pushed through the crowd. Chief Benson. He had rushed there after hearing unbelievable rumors. His breathing was heavy. His expensive clothes were covered with dust. When he finally reached the front, he froze. The luxury convoy, the executives, the reporters, the security team, and his son-in-law standing confidently in the middle of them all. Chief Benson looked at Noah in disbelief. "You?" His voice trembled. "You are?" Noah smiled respectfully. "Good afternoon, Chief." Chief Benson could barely speak. "The richest man in town." Uncle Samuel answered for him. "No. He is one of the richest agricultural businessmen in the entire country." Chief Benson staggered backward. His legs almost gave way. Everything he believed about Noah had been wrong. He remembered calling him worthless. He remembered refusing to attend the wedding. He remembered disowning his own daughter. The weight of those memories crushed his heart. Tears slowly filled his eyes. Meanwhile, the villagers who had laughed at Noah lowered their heads in shame. The young men who had mocked his clothes could no longer meet his eyes. The women who had called Amara foolish suddenly wished they had never spoken. Even Victor stood speechless, his pride shattered beyond repair. Yet Noah showed no anger, no pride, no desire for revenge. He simply looked at the people who had once rejected him and said calmly, "I hope today teaches us something. A person's clothes cannot measure their character. A small house does not mean a small future. And true wealth is not counted by money alone." He looked around the crowd one final time. The richest person is the one whose heart remains generous, even after being treated unfairly. Not a single person spoke. Many wiped tears from their eyes. Others quietly bowed their heads. For the first time in Umidike's history, the entire town stood united in silence. Not because of fear, but because they had witnessed a truth powerful enough to change their lives forever. And although Noah's greatest secret had finally been revealed, an even greater challenge was waiting just beyond the horizon. Not everyone was ready to celebrate his success. Someone in the crowd watched with bitterness burning inside his heart. Victor Cole quietly clenched his fists. "If I can't destroy the farmer, I'll destroy the billionaire." The battle was only beginning. By the next morning, there was only one topic anyone in Umidike could talk about. The poor farmer was not poor at all. Noah Adeyemi was the chairman of one of the largest agricultural companies in the country and the richest man in town. The shocking revelation spread beyond Umidike within hours. Television stations reported the story. Newspapers printed Noah's photograph on their front pages. Radio presenters discussed the mysterious billionaire who had chosen to live like an ordinary farmer for years. Everywhere people went, they heard the same question. "Did you hear about Noah? I can't believe we laughed at him. I never imagined someone so wealthy could live such a simple life." The same people who had mocked Noah now wished they had treated him differently. Outside Noah's farmhouse, a long line of visitors formed before sunrise. Some came carrying expensive gifts. Others brought baskets of fruit. Several wealthy businessmen arrived with flower arrangements and carefully prepared speeches. They all wanted the same thing: forgiveness. Inside the farmhouse, Amara looked through the window and sighed. There must be 50 people outside. Noah smiled as he poured 2 cups of tea. I think there are more. She shook her head in disbelief. Yesterday they laughed at us. And today they're waiting at our door. Noah handed her a cup. People often change when they discover the truth. But should they? He smiled gently. No. They should have treated everyone with kindness from the beginning. After breakfast, Noah opened the front door. The waiting crowd immediately stood. An elderly man stepped forward first. He removed his cap and lowered his head. My son. I came to apologize. Noah recognized him. Months earlier, the man had laughed at his old clothes in the market. You don't owe me anything, Noah said kindly. The old man shook his head. I judged you because of your appearance. I was wrong. I've carried that shame all night. Noah smiled warmly. Then leave it behind. He stretched out his hand. The old man took it with trembling fingers. Thank you. One by one, more villagers came forward. A woman who had mocked Amara during the wedding wiped tears from her eyes. I called you foolish. I said you had ruined your life. She looked at Amara. Please forgive me. Amara smiled kindly. I forgave you long before today. The woman burst into tears. Thank you. Throughout the morning, dozens of people apologized. Some cried openly. Others admitted they had become blinded by pride and jealousy. Noah welcomed each person with patience. He never reminded them of their insults. He never embarrassed anyone. His kindness surprised everyone. Around noon, another visitor arrived. This time it was Chief Benson. He stood alone at the entrance of the farmhouse. Gone was the proud businessman who had once valued wealth above all else. Today he looked like a broken father. His shoulders were slumped. His eyes were red from a sleepless night. Amara saw him first. Father! Chief Benson looked at his daughter, and tears immediately filled his eyes. I don't deserve to call myself your father. Amara slowly walked toward him. For several moments, neither of them spoke. Finally, Chief Benson lowered himself to his knees. I'm sorry. His voice trembled. I cared more about money than your happiness. He looked at Noah. I insulted you. I mocked you. I refused to bless your marriage. He bowed his head. I was wrong. The entire compound fell silent. Noah quickly stepped forward. Please stand. Chief Benson shook his head. Not until you forgive me. Noah gently helped the older man to his feet. I forgave you the day you rejected me. Chief Benson stared at him in disbelief. You did. Noah nodded. Holding on to anger only makes the heart heavier. Tears rolled down Chief Benson's cheeks. He pulled Amara into a tight embrace. My daughter. I'm so proud of you. Amara cried as she hugged him back. I missed you, father. Rose, who had quietly followed behind her husband, wiped away tears of joy. The family that had been torn apart was finally together again. Later that afternoon, Noah invited everyone to sit beneath the large mango tree. Villagers gathered around, eager to hear him speak. Noah stood before them with Amara by his side. I have something important to say. The crowd became quiet. I didn't hide my wealth because I hated rich people. He paused. I hid it because I wanted to understand people. He looked around at the familiar faces. During those years, I learned something. A poor person deserves the same respect as a rich person. He pointed toward his farmhouse. Many people refused to greet me because they believed I had nothing. Then he smiled. But others showed me kindness without expecting anything in return. His eyes met Amara's. My wife taught me that true love sees the person, not the pocket. Amara smiled through happy tears. The crowd applauded warmly. One young man raised his hand. Chairman Noah, what should we do if we've spent years judging people? Noah smiled. Start today. Treat every person with dignity. You never know whose story you're looking at. The crowd nodded thoughtfully. As evening approached, Most of the villagers returned home with lighter hearts. But not everyone was celebrating. Inside his luxurious mansion, Victor Cole sat alone in his office. Newspapers covering Noah's story were scattered across his desk. One headline read, "The Poor Farmer Who Was a Billionaire." Victor crushed the newspaper in his fist. His face burned with humiliation. He remembered every insult he had thrown at Noah, every attempt to embarrass him. Now the entire town knew the truth. Victor's phone rang. It was one of his business partners. "We're ending our partnership." "What? After everything that's happened, we no longer trust your judgment." The call ended. Before Victor could recover, another phone call came. Then another. One investor withdrew. Another canceled a contract. A third demanded repayment of a loan. Within hours, years of carefully built business relationships began falling apart. Victor slammed his fist onto the desk. This isn't over. He opened a drawer and removed a folder containing private information about Noah's company. His eyes narrowed. If I can't destroy his reputation, I'll destroy his business. Meanwhile, back at the farmhouse, Noah and Amara sat together beneath the stars. The day had been long, emotional, and unforgettable. Amara leaned against Noah's shoulder. "Do you regret revealing the truth?" He looked up at the night sky. "No." "Why?" "Because I no longer have to hide." He smiled at her. "And because the greatest treasure I was searching for," he gently took her hand, "was never money. It was you." Amara smiled as tears of happiness filled her eyes. They sat quietly beneath the stars, grateful that love had brought them together despite every obstacle. But while peace had finally returned to their hearts, danger was quietly growing elsewhere. Victor's pride had been wounded beyond repair, and a desperate man with nothing left to lose could become more dangerous than anyone imagined. Several weeks passed after Noah's true identity was revealed, and life in Umudike slowly settled into a new rhythm. Although Noah was now publicly known as one of the richest men in the country, very little about him had changed. He still woke before sunrise. He still walked through his fields with a farming hoe resting across his shoulder. He still greeted every villager with a warm smile, and he still refused to let wealth change his heart. One morning, Amara found him repairing a broken fence around one of the vegetable fields. She smiled as she walked toward him. "You know you could hire someone to do that." Noah laughed. "I could." "Then why don't you?" He drove another nail into the wooden post before answering. "Because honest work reminds me of who I am." Amara shook her head with a smile. "I don't think you'll ever stop being a farmer." "I hope I never do." They laughed together before heading inside for breakfast. But while peace filled their home, trouble was quietly taking shape elsewhere. Inside his office, Victor Cole stared angrily at a stack of unpaid bills. Since Noah's identity had been revealed, investors had withdrawn from Victor's companies one after another. Business partners no longer trusted him, and several major contracts had been canceled. His pride had turned into bitterness. "This is all Noah's fault," he muttered. One of his employees looked nervous. "Sir, maybe it's time to move on." Victor slammed his hand onto the desk. "No." He opened a drawer and pulled out several confidential documents about Noah's agricultural company. "If I can't defeat him fairly, I'll make sure his business falls apart." That evening, Victor secretly met with two dishonest contractors in an abandoned warehouse outside town. "I have a job for you," he said quietly. The men listened carefully. "I want you to damage several of Noah's storage warehouses. Make it look like an accident." One of the men frowned. "That's risky." Victor placed a thick envelope filled with cash on the table. "Does this change your mind?" The men exchanged glances before taking the money. "We'll handle it." A few nights later, disaster struck. One of Noah's grain warehouses caught fire. Workers rushed to the scene, trying desperately to save the stored harvest. By dawn, much of the building had been destroyed. News spread quickly. When Noah arrived, his managers looked devastated. "We're so sorry, Chairman. We tried everything." Noah calmly examined the damage. "Was anyone hurt?" "No." He smiled with relief. Then we'll rebuild. The managers stared at him. Aren't you angry? He looked at the burned warehouse. Buildings can be replaced. People cannot. His calm response inspired everyone around him. Later that day, investigators arrived. After carefully examining the scene, they discovered clear signs that the fire had been started deliberately. Noah quietly listened to the report. "Do you suspect anyone?" an officer asked. Noah thought for a moment. "I have an idea, but I don't want to accuse anyone without proof." The investigation continued. Meanwhile, another tragedy unfolded. Chief Benson collapsed inside his office during an important business meeting. Doctors rushed him to the hospital. After several tests, they delivered difficult news. He needs immediate heart surgery. Rose's face turned pale. "How much will it cost?" The doctor mentioned an amount so large that Rose covered her mouth in shock. Chief Benson's business had suffered heavy losses over the past year, leaving much of his wealth tied up in debt. For the first time in decades, he could not afford the treatment he desperately needed. Rose quietly stepped outside the hospital room and began to cry. Unknown to her, Noah had just arrived. He had heard about Chief Benson's condition from one of the villagers. He gently approached his mother-in-law. "How is he?" Rose wiped away her tears. "The doctors say the surgery must happen soon. But we don't have enough money." Noah nodded thoughtfully. "Please don't worry." Before she could ask what he meant, Noah walked to the hospital's billing office. He quietly paid every medical expense in full. Then he gave the receptionist one simple instruction. "Please don't tell him who paid." The receptionist smiled. "Of course, sir." The following morning, the doctor entered Chief Benson's room. "Good news. Your surgery has been approved." Chief Benson looked confused. "But I haven't paid." The doctor smiled. "Someone took care of everything." Chief Benson looked at his wife. "Was it you?" Rose slowly shook her head. "I don't know who it was." Days later, the surgery was successful. Chief Benson recovered quickly. When he was finally discharged, he quietly asked the hospital administrator one last time. "Please, I need to know who saved my life." The administrator hesitated. "I'm sorry. I wasn't supposed to tell you." Chief Benson nodded. "I understand." The administrator smiled gently. "But I think the person who helped you deserves your gratitude." He leaned closer. "It was Noah." Chief Benson froze. His eyes filled with tears. "The man I rejected saved my life." The administrator nodded. "He asked us not to tell you." Chief Benson covered his face with trembling hands. He remembered every cruel word he had spoken, every insult, every moment he had judged Noah by his appearance. Yet Noah had answered hatred with kindness. That evening, Chief Benson slowly walked to Noah's farmhouse. When Noah opened the door, Chief Benson's eyes overflowed with tears. "You saved me." Noah smiled gently. "I'm grateful you're feeling better." Chief Benson could barely speak. "Why? After everything I did to you, why would you help me?" Noah placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Because you're my family. And because forgiveness isn't just something we speak about. It's something we choose." Chief Benson broke down crying. For the first time in his life, he truly understood what it meant to be rich. Real wealth wasn't measured by money. It was measured by the size of a person's heart. As father-in-law and son-in-law embraced, neither of them realized that the police investigation into the warehouse fire had finally uncovered the truth. The evidence pointed to one man, Victor Cole, and before another sunrise, he would have to answer for everything he had done. The morning sun rose over Umidike with a sense of peace the town had not felt in years. The news of Victor Cole's arrest spread quickly from house to house. After weeks of investigation, the police gathered enough evidence to prove that he had hired men to set fire to Noah's warehouse. He was also charged with conspiracy, destruction of property, and attempted fraud. As he was led into a police vehicle, Victor lowered his head in shame. The same people who had once admired his wealth now turned away from him. Many remembered how he had laughed at Noah's old clothes and mocked his simple life. Now they understood an important lesson. Money without character could never earn lasting respect. Meanwhile, Noah refused to celebrate Victor's downfall. When reporters asked if he was happy about the arrest, he simply replied, "Justice must be done, but I take no joy in another person's pain. I only hope he learns from his mistakes and becomes a better man one day." His answer touched the hearts of many people across the country. A few months later, Noah officially returned to leading Adeyemi Agricultural Holdings, but he made one promise to himself. He would never stop being a farmer. Every week, he still spent time working in the fields with his employees. He believed that a true leader should never forget where the food came from or the people who worked hard to produce it. Amara remained by his side through everything. Although she now lived in a beautiful home provided by Noah's company, she never allowed wealth to change her. She still cooked for her family. She still visited the orphanage every week. She still helped elderly villagers carry heavy loads whenever she saw them struggling. The people of Umudike admired her even more than before. She was humble when she thought her husband was poor, they would say, and she stayed humble after discovering he was rich. Together, Noah and Amara began using their wealth to transform the town. They built a modern school so that children would receive a quality education without leaving the community. They constructed a well-equipped hospital where families could receive medical care regardless of their financial situation. They drilled clean water boreholes for nearby villages that had struggled for years to find safe drinking water. They created farming training centers where young people learned modern agricultural methods, helping hundreds of families build successful businesses of their own. Within a few years, Umudike became one of the most prosperous farming communities in the region. People no longer traveled there to laugh at a poor farmer. They came to learn from a humble leader. One Sunday afternoon, the entire town gathered in the village square for a special celebration honoring Noah and Amara. Colorful decorations filled the streets. Children danced joyfully. Traditional drummers played cheerful rhythms while families laughed together. Chief Benson stepped onto the stage holding a microphone. He looked at the large crowd before turning toward his daughter and Noah. His voice trembled with emotion. "There was a time when I believed wealth was the greatest gift a person could have." He paused as tears filled his eyes. "I judged Noah because of his clothes. I rejected him because I thought he was poor." He looked at his daughter. "And I nearly lost the greatest daughter any father could ask for." He turned to Noah. "My son, thank you for forgiving me when I did not deserve it." The crowd became silent. Chief Benson continued, "You taught me that kindness is greater than pride. Generosity is greater than riches. And love is greater than everything else." The audience erupted into applause. Noah walked onto the stage and embraced his father-in-law. "You are family," he said warmly. "That's all that matters." The crowd applauded even louder. Later that evening, as the celebration came to an end, Noah and Amara walked hand in hand through the same farm road where people had once pointed, laughed, and mocked them. The road looked different now, not because it had changed, but because the hearts of the people had changed. Amara smiled as she looked across the green fields. "Do you remember the day everyone laughed at us?" Noah laughed softly. "I do. Does it still hurt?" He gently squeezed her hand. "No." "Why?" "Because every painful moment led me to you." Amara rested her head on his shoulder. "And I would choose you again, no matter how many times life gave me the chance." They stopped beneath the old mango tree where they had shared so many conversations. The evening breeze rustled the leaves above them as the sun slowly disappeared beyond the horizon. Noah looked at Amara with a grateful smile. "I searched for the richest treasure in the world." She smiled. "And did you find it?" He nodded. "Yes. I found it the day a beautiful woman chose a poor farmer because she saw the goodness in his heart." Amara smiled through happy tears. Together, they walked home, surrounded not by riches, but by something far more valuable: faith, forgiveness, humility, and a love that had stood strong through every trial. And from that day forward, whenever anyone in Umudike was tempted to judge another person by their appearance, they remembered the story of the poor farmer who was actually the richest man in town. Because true wealth is never measured by the size of a bank account. It is measured by the size of a person's heart. Thank you so much for watching this story. We truly appreciate your time and support. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another inspiring story. We'd also love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Your comments encourage us and help our community grow. Thank you once again, and we'll see you in the next story. God bless you.